All right, so welcome to today's edition of the Working Parents Network workshop for our employees at the University of Kentucky. Today, we're going to be talking about simple ways to stay connected with your children. So thank you for attending this session today to talk about this topic. When we talk about staying connected with your child, we know that that can be a journey, and it is a journey. It's a journey for one reason, because we as parents, we change over time while we're parenting our children, and then our children change over time. For one thing, they change in their personalities a little bit. They change in their maturity. You know, a 2-year-old is not the same as a 12-year-old or a 22-year-old. So as parents, we are always trying to figure out, how do we continue to stay connected with our child no matter their age? And so that's some of what we're going to discuss today. So this first quote just says, "The parent-child connection is the most powerful mental health intervention known to mankind." I love that quote. I don't know if you've heard that before, but I think it's amazing. I really do appreciate it. The parent-child connection is the most powerful mental health intervention known to mankind. Think about that. Just and you probably see this lived out actually in your life, daily life with your child. You see yourself helping them through those challenging days that they may have at school or daycare, or things with their siblings if they have siblings. You see them working through that, and you know that your hugs matter, your praise matters, your attention to taking time to spend time with them matters to them, and it helps them. So I really appreciate this quote. And then this just tells us, what factors influence our being able to connect with our children and them being able to connect with us. So before we even start talking about tips for connecting, it's really important to pause and go, wait a minute, is it possible that there are some things that may be influencing how I do or don't connect with my child? So that's pretty much what this is talking about. And I really appreciate that there's a lot of categories here. You have your cultural, individual, behavior, emotional, psychological, biological, physical, and social factors that might influence your ability to connect with your child and your child's ability to connect with you. And when I first looked at this, I started to think, seems like something's missing. Because I started to think about, what about personality? But then I realized, wait, that's probably part of that individual circle. And I started to think about, well, what about a parent's influence that they got from how they were raised? And then I realized, you know what, maybe that's more of that cultural. And so it really does cover a lot of categories that can influence, like, your emotional state. If you're tired, if you're angry, if you're upset, or if you're just having a bad day or bad week, that might be influencing your ability to connect with your child. And then physically, if you're just tired, you may just be like, I want to go someplace and take a nap. And your child is like, let's do stuff. And you're like, no. So and sometimes this also makes me think about connectivity in a day-to-day as well as long-term. Because we may find as parents that some days we're doing a great job of being connected. We're there, we're present, and every child is different. So I love that personality piece as well, because let's just say you have a child that's very extroverted and you're a very introverted person. That extroverted child may be like always in your face, trying to do something, talking to you, wanting to connect, wanting to hang out, wanting attention, basically. And that doesn't change when they get older, if they're an extroverted child. But it changes kind of in form, but they still want to stay connected. But, if you're the introverted parent, you may be exhausted by some of that. So you have to pace yourself a bit. And if it's the opposite, you're the extroverted parent and they're the introverted child, and they're just kind of like, leave me alone. Stop trying to do stuff all the time. Stop hanging out with me all the time. I don't want to engage with you this much. So then you have to pace yourself from that perspective. So I really appreciate that this is saying us, you know what, there are some simple ways to connect with our child, but we also have to consider just our own personality and who we are and what we bring to the table. And just from one day to the next, how some days we're very like, yeah, let's connect. And other days, maybe not so much. And there are different factors that influence that. Another factor that could potentially influence our ability to connect with our children is our parenting style. So thinking about your parenting style, are you the authoritarian, the permissive, the uninvolved, or the authoritative parent? Depending on that parenting style and your child's personality and your child's age even, that might impact whether you are able to deeply connect, not surface and superficial, but deeply connect with your child. So these examples here, if you're not familiar with these parenting styles, the authoritarian is the parent that's like, do it because I say so. That parent tends to be very strict and very controlling, and they really expect complete obedience. They sometimes can come across as discouraging to the child, and their communication may be sometimes harsh, but oftentimes stern and firm. So there's not a lot of wiggle room for adjusting. Sometimes with that parent, it's kind of like, this is the way I say do it, and we're doing it that way. So sometimes that can be a challenge when the child is just has their own mind, for one, but also as they get older, if you continue to be that authoritarian parent, your child is going to start to potentially resent you because, you know, they're coming into their own, they have their own thoughts and opinions about things, and they want to give input on where to go watch a movie or what activity to do. And you're like, no, we're doing this because I said so. So that could be something. The permissive parent, they're the parent that's just kind of like very indulgent of their child. They possibly could be very loving and very kind and so forth, but they might avoid punishment or letting the child feel the consequences of their behavior, which helps them grow. They may lack boundaries or clear boundaries, or they may have boundaries that actually never stick, because as soon as they set a boundary, they don't actually stick to it. So, you know, that's the permissive kind of, just there are no clear boundaries. Just let the child kind of make the decisions and run the house, almost is where it appears. So that parent, the connection piece, it might appear like, yay, this child is amazing, you know, they're loving this, but it may not be the best situation sometimes, because children, we know, need boundaries. And then the uninvolved parent is just, they're kind of like doing their own thing, and they're like letting the child, and sometimes they can look a little bit like that permissive parent, because they could truly be neglectful. So there's kind of a continuum with this one. It could be the uninvolved parent that's there physically, but that's not there like mentally or emotionally. So they may be home, but they're just home doing their own thing, and they're not really connecting with the child. Like they're on their phone, they're playing video games, they're talking to friends, or they're always doing some activity or something, and the child is with a sitter or with somebody else. And so, or they just, you know, they're in the house doing their own things. So that's that uninvolved. Now we know as children get older, like teenager years, they sometimes want more time to themselves and less time with you. That's okay. But even so, we're not talking about that. But even those children, you have to connect with them. Like go and knock on the door and say, hey, how's it going? What are you doing in here? Talk to them for 5 minutes and leave. Like that shows like you're connecting with them, even if it's just for a few minutes. And then that authoritative. And then this is the parent that has rules, and they tend to stay with those rules, but they also are nurturing. They also have values. They also have boundaries that they reinforce and they adjust them as the child grows up. So a lot of times this connectivity piece is important to think about, that you have to adjust that as time goes on. So the way you connected with your child when they were 2 years old may not work as well when they're 8. The way you connected when they were 10 may not work as well when they're 20, because they have grown, they've developed, they have interests and so forth. So you have to kind of adjust and be on the lookout for cool ways to connect as they get older. This quote says, a strong relationship with the parent can provide children with a sense of security and belonging, helping them to feel supported as they navigate the obstacles of growing up. So a strong relationship with a parent can provide children with a sense of security and belonging, helping them to feel supported as they navigate the obstacles of growing up. So what we're going for with this one is, you know, as your child is growing up, they they can come to you when they need something, and you're able to help them and to guide them because you have that positive, strong connection. And they feel like you're a safe space, that they can come to you and be upset about something that happened at school, that they can come to you and be upset about something that happened with the sibling, and you're going to listen. Even if you think they're wrong when they first start talking, you're going to listen, you're going to hear them out, and then you're going to ask some questions, and you're going to try to help them discover what they should do in a situation, and not just, here's what you do. Now, when they're a little smaller, 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, oftentimes you're more directive, like you should do this, and this is why you should do this. But as they get older, you're kind of helping them discover the things and how they should do things. So here's some questions to think about. I want you to think about these questions. What do you do now to stay connected with your child? And I'm going to pause in between reading each one of these questions because I really want you to think, what do I do? And if you have multiple children, if you have 2 or 3 or more, just, and especially if there are various age ranges. In our house, we have a 19-year-old and a 15-year-old. And then we have a 29-year-old who is clearly not in the house, but off living his best life, married with children and all of that. But we still stay connected, and we still, offer advice and those kinds of things. But it's more so when solicited. When you have a 29-year-old, you're not like in their business. You're pretty much just out here going, when you need me, let me know. And you listen a lot, and then you ask questions, and then you offer advice, and then they make their own decisions. So first question, what do you do now to stay connected with your child? It could be everyday things. It could be special occasion things. It could be, whatever. Simple things like good night, reading a book at night if they're younger, or just talking to them if they're a teenager when it's closer to bedtime, or going for walks with them. There's all kinds of things you can do. Read the same book and discuss the book if they're a reader. Number 2, what are some things that might make a child disconnect from their parent? Things to think about, right? What are some ways you can enhance your connection with your child? Let's just say you're here today because you're thinking, I think I'm doing okay, or I used to do great, but I don't know nowadays. I mean, you're just trying to think, what can I do to enhance the connection? And it could be pausing and thinking, what factors are there? And when we're on that slide about factors, what are some factors that might be influencing how we're connecting and why we are or not connecting? Have there been some changes in some of those factors? It could be age related, it could be interest related, it could be whatever, so, and keeping in mind those factors are from the parent and child perspective. So what are some ideas to reconnect with your child? And I'm leaving that to you to think about, because I want you, based on your children and their personality and what they need and where they are in life and what's going on with them, you may have to think, like, how can I reconnect? Maybe it's if they're a teenager, or maybe, out of the house even, you may be like, well, maybe I'll just invite them to lunch once a month, or take them to dinner once every couple of weeks, or invite them, if they're out of the house, invite them to the house to eat with us or eat with me, every Sunday or every Saturday or whatever. Like, there's different things like that you can think about and kind of make your own list, and then get started. So this quote says, if you had a special connection with an adult when you were a child, what was it about that relationship that made you feel special? And I'd love for you to put this in the chat. If you had a special connection with an adult when you were a child, what was it about that relationship that made you feel special? Put that in the chat if you don't mind, or just think about it. While you are thinking about that, I paused and thought about this myself, and one of the first people that came to mind was my grandfather, my paternal on my dad's side grandfather, who died when I was 11. But I'll have such fun memories of him as if he was older. I was older when he died. And he made me feel special and connected with him because he literally just spent time with me. Imagine, him dying when I was 11. So, I mean, but he was there a lot when I was little, and I would go to his house. And it's funny because my grandmother was there too, but I always hung out with him. And I would just follow him around. And he never acted like I was bothering him. I would just follow him outside. If he was in the yard doing something, I was in the yard watching. If he went for an errand, I went for an errand. I mean, and he never was like, stay here, go away. Why are you following me around? He was always inviting, like, come on, let's go. And so that, even to this day, I feel like that was a great connection. And you guys put some things in the chat. Let me see what's in the chat. Oh, one person said they made life more fun. Someone else said they were always interested in hearing what about their day, which is wonderful. Someone else said the attention they gave them, her attention she gave me. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. So even just thinking about those relationships that you had, the connections you had with an adult that really made you feel special, you can translate that to your children. Like, what was it about that person? They listened to your day. They asked, how was your day? And they weren't too busy to listen. So they didn't ask and then kind of was busying about doing things. So sometimes as parents, I know nowadays we oftentimes have so much going on that being present is a challenge sometimes. But part of connecting, you have to be present. My son and I often take walks around the neighborhood, and I like to listen to music while I walk. And if I start to play music when I'm walking with him, he's like, oh, we're listening to music. Can you turn that music off? And so it makes me be more mindful in the walk. And so when I'm with him, I don't play music because he wants to talk and I want to talk to him. But that's a nice clue from him to me that you're not truly focused on me, I think, at least if you're listening to music and talking to me. So I think that's a good one. So here's some tips, 4 tips for building a positive parent-child relationship. So now we've gotten to this part of the presentation where we're talking about actual tips, right? Before it was really reflective, just wanting you to think, what are some things that you are, that a part of you and your dynamic and with you and your child that may or may not be helping you connect. And so now here's just some really few practical tips. So be available for them. You should be alert, attentive, loving, supportive, and responsive to your child's needs. Be available. So if they have a phone, if they're a teenager, if they're out the home or grown and they call and they need you or they need to talk, if it's not a good time, you can say, can I call you back in 15 minutes or can you call me back, at this time, or can you can navigate that. But being available when they're little bitty, when they're 2, you're doing a lot of availability. But when they get to be 10 and 8, sometimes it's easy to kind of back off, or 12, or even middle school, high school age. Sometimes you may feel like, oh, they're independent now. They can do a lot of things themselves, but they still need you to be available and supportive of whatever activities and things that they're doing, and responsive when they say they need to talk, or you can tell that they look like they're not having the best day, or they're having a great day and they want to tell you about it. Just being available. And then this one is like emphasize, help your child express their emotions without any hesitation. So you just want them to be able to feel free to come to you and talk to you when they have something going on. Or if you say something and they feel like, oh, that hurt my feelings or that bothered me, or why would you do that? You want them to feel like they can express how they're feeling about things to you. And it may not be about you, it may be some other situation, but you're helping them to be healthy in their emotions. And that's positive. Prioritize your relationship with your child. Your child should be your top priority until they grow up and are capable to make their own decisions. And even then, you have to be there for them. Prioritize your relationship. I love the quote that says, put yourself on your own priority list. And so this, if I was to add the child, I would say, put your child on your priority list. Because, actions speak louder than words. Obviously, we love our children. We want to be there for them. But if your actions are saying something other than you are a priority to me, if work is way more prioritized than the child, if your own personal activities, not saying you shouldn't have hobbies and interests and things like that, there's a way to balance all of that and do all of those things. But your child oftentimes will let you know, no, I don't feel like a priority. And then you can ask why and listen. And it may just be some small tweaks you need to make or some big tweaks. The next one, invest time and effort. The more time and effort you put into your relationship, the stronger the bonding will be. Time and effort. And again, that could be simple things like my son and I, we take those walks. And it may be a 20-minute walk, but we're just talking about whatever comes up in that 20 minutes. And oftentimes we walk back in the house and then we'll go our separate ways. He's 15. So he'll go do whatever and I'll go do whatever. But that was intentional time, just the two of us talking about whatever he wants to talk about. And then I get to know what's on his heart. I get to know what he's thinking, what's going on in his world, things that sometimes you don't know otherwise. Because life can be busy and life can be, a lot. And it could be something like if your child is especially extroverted and they like to spend time with you, you could get them to be your like run errand buddy. Like I need to go to 2 or 3 places. Come, you want to go with me? And a lot of times they are like, yay, let's spend time together. Let's hang out. And so there you go. All right. So this slide says 12 ways to connect with your kids. Quick, simple things, right? Empathize. Just listen. And if they're saying something, care, say words that sound like you care. Even if as an adult, you're thinking, come on. You get to say, wow, that sounds tough. Or that sounds like a rough day. Or that sounds like that upset you. Just empathize with them. Get below eye level, like get on the floor with them, get down to their level, basically. Eye level is like looking at them, but then really truly be humble with them and not come across like, I know it all, you're just a child, I'm the adult. Limit your words. Sometimes that listening part is super. So, and also if you have to correct them, maybe don't do a speech. I don't know if you guys are any of those speech parents where you just do something's going on with them and you give them this long speech about why they shouldn't have done it and all of that. Oh my goodness, that can drive a child bonkers. That can drive you bonkers if someone did that to you. So think about, how can I say this in a concise way and stop talking? Like I don't have to give them a 20-minute lecture on why they shouldn't have done this. Just make the points, this is the consequence, and move on. Say what you see. So back to you look like you're feeling down today. Did you have a rough day, or why do you seem like you're in a bad mood? Or it seems like you're really excited. Was there something special happen at school today? Just showing I see you is important. Whatever mood they're in, up, down. If you're not sure what the mood is, asking a question about it. Doing things, saying things to say, guess what? I see you. Eat dinner together. Play. quality time, whatever that looks like for you guys. Hugs. If your child is not the huggy child, that's fine. If you're the huggy parent, maybe they indulge you for one hug a day or something. Bedtime bonding. It doesn't have to be reading a book, especially when they get older. It could just be going in there talking to them at bedtime or letting them come in your room and talk to you for a few minutes. Now, depending on your child, and if they're the child that wants to just make bedtime longer, because this is an opportunity to do that, you may have to be careful how you time that. But bedtime bonding. Praise their efforts. I love this efforts part. Praise their efforts. So if they're trying to cook a meal, or if they tried to make their bed or clean their room or whatever it is they were trying to do, praise the effort. Say, wow, thank you for trying to do this, or you did a good job with this. Now let's fix this part maybe. Or if it's something you can just walk away and say, it's not perfect, no big deal. Walk away. Listen. And when I say listen, I also think about watching those nonverbals. Let's say your child isn't one to say a whole lot, but maybe their nonverbals saying a lot. Disconnect to connect. And that's disconnecting from whatever you have going on, whether it's work or your own personal interest or your phone or your favorite TV show or whatever. Disconnecting from some things so that you can connect with them. Some benefits of healthy connections. Always good to think about these. There's always benefits, right? So here's a few benefits. Positive parent-child relationships. 1, young children who grow up with a secure and healthy attachment to their parents stand a better chance of developing healthy and content relationships with others in their life. That's a benefit. So them having a healthy attachment and secure relationship with you, they're more likely to help to develop healthy relationships with others. Number 2, healthy parent involvement and intervention in the child's day-to-day life lays the foundation for better social and academic skills. So being involved in their day-to-day life helps their child. Number 3, a secure attachment leads to a healthy social, emotional, cognitive, and motivational development. Children also gain strong problem-solving skills when they have a positive relationship with their parents. So you can, first of all, help them develop problem-solving skills by talking to them about how to approach different situations, or here's what you do, here's what you don't do. And they can watch you do it. So when they see you with a conflict with a partner or a spouse or a sibling or a coworker or a neighbor or whatever, and they watch how you respond to those things, that helps them to know how to positively respond in relationships. Number 4, a child who has a secure relationship with their parents learns how to regulate emotions under stress and in difficult situations. And again, part of that is you talking to them. You're giving them some advice, and you're saying, well, maybe you can do this. When they say, this happened at school with this person, or, or it may be something where you need to step in as a parent. You are your child's best and first advocate. So if something's going on with your child in the neighborhood or in the school or in the classroom, on the bus or wherever after school, you're the best and first advocate. You're the person that gets to step up and say, wait, something's going on. Let me call some people and check this out. Let me advocate for my child and let my child see. That's part of your connection too. Your child see that, oh, my parent has my back. If something goes down with me, they're looking out for me. They're going to step in. But if it's not one of those where you need to step in, just you working with them and them, you building a healthy, secure relationship with them will help them to know how to deal with stress and difficult situations themselves. Number 5, positive parenting relationships help children exhibit optimistic and confident school behaviors. Optimistic and confident behaviors, because they have such a positive, secure relationship at home. They're more likely to go to school with that same and build those types of relationships. Number 6, a positive parent-child relationship promotes the child's mental, linguistic, and emotional development. So that positive relationship goes a long, long ways. So as we wrap up this portion here, I wanted to just remind you, we're just talking about progress. We're talking about making progress in your efforts to connect positively with your child and build a healthy relationship with your child. Make some progress. We know as parents, we make mistakes all the time with our children. Sometimes you just lose your temper. Sometimes you don't have the energy. Sometimes you don't, step up and do whatever you need to do. But more than not, you're probably doing a great job, but you're just not going to be perfect. And if you do identify areas where you think, I really need to do better here, I need to spend more time, I need to listen and not be distracted, or whatever you've identified, I need to spend more time in this particular way with this particular child, because the other way works great for the other child, but not this child. That's great. Identify those things, start some steps, 1 or 2 things that you can do, and just continue to repair, enhance, and build a relationship with each child if you have more than one. Or if it's just one child, again, pause and step back and say, what am I doing great that's working? Or maybe the child, it worked when they were 5 and now they're 15 and that doesn't work anymore. So you just need to step back and say, okay, what things can I do now at this stage of our relationship? And that's just continuous progress. That is all parenting. So I want to close out by just sharing some of the resources we have at UK for parents. Just in case you're not familiar with these resources, we do have parenting consultations. I actually personally offer those. And also we have mental health support. So if your child needs mental health to talk to a clinician, or you need to talk to someone about your parenting or what's going on with your child, there's some mental health support for you to just talk that through. We have a working parents network where you can join us basically by coming to these workshops, or you can join our Teams group or our Facebook group and stay connected and ask questions of other parents. We have a Big Blue Family Care, which is a child care and parent and pet care referral service. We have monthly workshop that we offer. We have a Real Talk support group that meets monthly as well. Is very informal, where you can just talk to other parents and ask questions about different things that you may be facing, or ask for advice about different things. It's very informal and very enjoyable. And we meet monthly. We also, of course, have lactation breastfeeding support that we offer for our parents. We have lots of lactation spaces on campus and off campus, actually. And then we have a childcare search links and lots of childcare related resources on our website. We have summer camps directory and a parent resource directory on our website as well. So those are some of the ongoing services that we offer year round for parents. Coming in the next fiscal year, just to make you aware early here, we're going to have a couple of brown bag lunches, one in the fall and one in the spring. All those dates will be announced, and it'll be on our website, on our calendar. You'll be able to find all of these things on our HR calendar of events. We will have a couple of parent circle sessions, 2 in the fall, 2 in the spring, and that's going to be an opportunity for you to come and talk to parents that maybe have teenagers or different things going on. You can you'll be able to join different groups in that session and talk about related things that are interesting to you at that time. We're going to have a fatherhood journey series, and we'll have 2 workshops in the fall, 2 in the spring for that as well. And those are going to be workshops talking about various parenting topics specifically for fathers, but anyone can join. It's not exclusive to fathers. It's just the topics are focused on things that impact fathers. So that'll be an excellent workshop for mom and dads to attend. And so we're also going to have some virtual parent connections, one in the fall. It's basically like a speed friending session where you can jump on, and we're just going to rotate and connect with other parents. So maybe you're like a parent that wants to connect with other parents. That may be a good option for you. We're going to have a walking group that meets on primarily the second Thursdays of the month at noon on campus. So if you're interested in getting some exercise in, that would be an option for you. And we're going to have a book discussion. So we're going to have an overview of the book Imperfect Parenting by Brene Brown in the fall. And then we're going to, in February, we're going to do a 4-week session kind of breaking down this book. Now, this book is only offered virtually. So that's something, if you're interested, the imperfect parenting is a great topic, and it may be very, very encouraging to you. So you are invited to join us for this. So this is just a screenshot of our work-life well-being webpage. If you've never been there, you're welcome to go and check out all the resources we have, including our parenting resources. And thank you for being with us today. I just wanted to just wish you guys great luck as you are navigating this whole journey we call parenting. We all know that it's full of some ups and downs, but overall, it's wonderful. So thank you for joining today.